Welcome to the Sarpy County Board of Equalization meeting. Please silence all cell phones. Today is Tuesday, February 28th, 2023. It is 3:01 p.m. And a copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is located on the north wall of the county boardroom. Today we have present Commissioners Mixon, Warren, Burmeister, Klug, and Kelly. Also have Dan Hoynes, our county administrator, and Dan Pittman, our county assessor. Will please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Move on to the consent equalization agenda. Would anybody like to see any items removed from the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly and seconded by Commissioner Klug to approve the consent agenda. Any comments? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carries.
Item 5.1, Springfield American Legion request for a waiver of filing deadline to allow assessor to review exemption application form 451. Dan Pittman, assessor.
Good afternoon. The Springfield American Legion failed to file their exemption application by the December 31st deadline. So we had a telephone conversation in January, and they agreed that they would request a waiver from the county board so the county assessor can consider the late filing, because we still have some time to approve it. So if you'll consider the letter and approve it, we'll just move on with the normal course of business.
Any questions for Dan?
Motion to approve. Second.
Move to approve by Commissioner Warren, seconded by Commissioner Mixon. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carries.
Item 5.2 is tax corrections 17123 to 17127 and 17131 to 17133. Dan Pittman, assessor.
Any questions on these?
Questions for Dan?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Move to approve by Commissioner Klug, seconded by Commissioner Kelly. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carries.
All agenda items having been addressed as published, the Board of Equalization is adjourned.
Give me 1 minute. Okay, we're good.
We are here on Tuesday, February 28th, 2023. It is now 3:04 p.m. For the Board of Commissioners meeting, we have present today Commissioners Mixon, Warren, Burmeister, Klug, and Kelly. We also have our County Administrator, Dan Hoynes, and our County Treasurer, Trace Jones.
No.
Nope.
County Clerk Deb Hotelling.
Our County Clerk, Deb Hotelling. One of these days I'll get it right, Deb.
You're good,
But
you're
not
good.
today, apparently. We'll start with Commissioners' comments, starting with Commissioner Mixon.
None. No comments.
No comments, thank you.
I just want to thank Commissioner Warren for going down to Lincoln and advocating on behalf of the board for not one, not two, but three separate hearings. So thank you.
It just was two. Hey, Denny came down and covered one. Thank you.
Well, I do appreciate it. And the things that he talked about are really important to Sarpy County. So thank you, Jim.
Dan?
Nothing.
Okay. Moving to the consent Commissioners' agenda, would anybody like to see any items removed from the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly to approve, seconded by Commissioner Warren. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carries.
Item 5.1 is Resolution 2023-033, award the low bid for the wayfinding fabrication and installation to Serigraphics Sign Systems in the amount of $172,014, including courthouse interior and exterior building signs. Beth Garber, Assistant County Administrator.
It's a big file.
Thank you. On January 13th, 4 bids were open for wayfinding, fabrication, and installation. After review, it's recommended the bid be awarded to the low bidder, Serigraphic Sign Systems, for $172,014. The bids ranged from the low bid to the high bid of $264,500. Purchasing contacted the references for Serigraphic and held a bid meeting with the low bidder, project architect, and county project management team and recommend approval. The project includes courthouse interior signage and 2 exterior signs at administration and 1 exterior sign at the Hall of Justice, with installation being completed by August of 2023. And then these are just some samples of what the signs will look like. Right now, we have signage, directional signage overhead, on walls and on the ground. It'll move all directional signage overhead, clarifying and where people should go.
Any questions for Beth?
The exterior signs, are those like the monument signs, or are they?
Yep, so where the administration sign is now, that will get replaced by the sign that says Sarpy
Right.
County. And then there'll be another one that gives directions of what's in that.
Thank you.
What's in this direct.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Moved by Commissioner Klug. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded
Oh,
by,
I'm sorry. I was just going to say it and I clicked the button, so.
Oh, well, you got it then.
seconded by Commissioner Kelly. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I have a question. So, we've been moving around a lot. When we put these signs down, is it going to be difficult to, when offices change, to re-signage?
That was one of our core tenets and goals of the signage, is that they're easily replaceable with the skins or with vinyl lettering. So you can,
So does the contract give us some additional future orders for signs, new signs, or different signs?
we have, I think, 60 or 90 days to order additional signs at the contract rate. And then we,
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carries.
Resolution number 5.2 is Resolution 2023-050, Sarpy County Correctional Center exterior signage estimate with Dakey in the amount of $47,000 for design, procurement assistance, and construction management. Beth Garber, Assistant County Administrator.
So this proposal is for the design and construction administration for the correctional center building exterior signs along the west and the south ends of the building. Dakey is the designer and the project manager. They did the design for all of the signage wayfinding on our campus.
Questions for Beth?
So
On the sign, the design itself, and then obviously the Sarpy County Hall of Justice is nice, big, bold lettering that you can read. I'm seeing Richfield off at Air Force Base. All of the other ones, they're a little bit more embedded in the same color. How are they going to make those stand out, that you're going to actually see those?
I don't have the design details yet. That's what we're bidding out, but.
Okay, my comment is just make sure that they
Yes.
will stand out.
Yep.
And this is a $47,000 for design. Do we have any estimate of what the final cost would be?
The final cost is $350,000, and that is included in the FF&E budget for the correctional center.
So what's the 47,000 to them exactly?
Design, the finalization of
design it?
design and construction
So
management.
they're just going to design this?
Yes.
Okay. I think it would be helpful, just a thought, if we posted this proposal on social media to see what kind of feedback we get back from our constituents, just to kind of get a flavor for the support or lack thereof of, I think it's a great looking sign personally. And the building needs a sign. I drive by that intersection all the time and I go, what's that big open space for there? It's for a sign, so. But it'd be nice if we could get that, and we'll work that with Com maybe, Dan, to see if we can get it published and just kind of see what kind of feedback we get.
Well, then do you want to delay the beginning of the design?
No.
Because-
I don't want to delay that. I'm just suggesting, I think it's a good idea to run it concurrently. Because we're going to come back and
The
vote
final, yes.
later on the actual obligation of funds, correct? Beyond.
Yes, correct.
Yeah,
That is
yeah,
correct.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Beth?
No,
Is there a motion?
I'll motion.
Second.
Moved by Kelly to approve, seconded by Commissioner Mixon. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 4, nays Warren.
Item 5.3 is Resolution 2023-028, interlocal cooperation agreement with Papio Missouri River Natural Resources District for Buffalo Road Urban Drainage Way Project, which increases the contribution from the NRD to $1.5 million. Scott Bovick, Deputy Administrator.
Thank you, Commissioners. This is an interlocal agreement with the NRD to fund a project located at 192nd and Buffalo Road. You can kind of see the general vicinity of the map, and then the area specifically in question. Buffalo Creek is endangering Buffalo Road in this area, continues to erode. Over the last several years, County Engineer Denny Wilson and his team, with the assistance of HDR, have looked at various options to try to alleviate this. The option that was settled upon was to restore the stream there. And fortunately for us, the NRD has a funding program to help participate in that. And so we did submit a grant about a year ago to the NRD. They've awarded us $1.5 million. That's the maximum amount that they contribute towards these projects. And they do contribute up to 60%. The actual project that we'll pursue will be, and it's kind of hard to see, and I think this is called a cross-section, but a cross-section of the area showing how we'll regrade the stream so that it can handle those flows in the future. The two main challenges with this project is permitting, because you're going to be changing the channel of the stream. We'll need to have permitting from the Army Corps of Engineers, and then also pretty significant right-of-way from the property owners in the area. My understanding from talking to Denny's team is they're supportive of the project. We'll just have to continue to work with them on that. Let's see. So the next item on your agenda is an agreement with HDR to actually do the design and permitting of this project and continue that coordination with the Natural Resource District. Because of the permitting and the time we expect to happen, this project's going to happen over in the next couple years. We've budgeted in the 1 and 6 year road program and the budget about $1.5 million of county funds that we'll spend. We'll get reimbursed over time, and we expect the total project cost to be right at $2.5 million. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. I know Denny's here and can answer any of the technical or engineering questions, but we recommend support.
Questions for Scott or for Denny?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved to approve by Commissioner Klug, seconded by Commissioner Warren. Any discussion?
I don't have a
Yeah, I'm not
tab.
seeing it yet.
I don't either.
It says you're in progress. It's not showing?
Nope.
Okay, Dave, did you make the motion?
Yes.
I don't know why it's not. It should be. And Commissioner Warren, are you second?
There it
It
goes.
just came, I seconded.
There, okay, there it comes.
Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none.
Item 5.4 is Resolution 2023-032, the task order for engineering services with HDR, previously approved by Resolution 2013-303 for Buffalo Roads Bank Stabilization Project C7714-15 in the amount of $363,486. Scott Bovick, Deputy
Again,
Administrator.
this is the agreement with HDR. They've been a great partner on this project. They obviously have a lot of expertise in the permitting and environmental area, and so recommend support. And I know Denny can answer any questions that you have.
Questions for Scott or Denny?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Moved to approve by Commissioner Klug, seconded by Commissioner Warren. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carries.
Item 5.5 is Resolution 2023-053, first amended list of certain support bills to be considered during the 2023 Nebraska legislative session, previously approved by Resolution 2023-029. Angie Burmeister, Chairman. So this, we have a little bit of a new process with our legislation process this year. We have a committee that's looking and working with our lobbyist, and we're trying to be a little bit more proactive as a board in legislation and a little bit more collaborative in legislation. So we're also voting on positions as a board when we're going to support as a board as a whole. And so that's why you're seeing a variety of amendments to the resolution that was previously adopted. This particular amendment has to do with the Veterans Court that Sarpy County is getting through the Nebraska Supreme Court, and the board is supportive of the Veterans Court and veterans as a whole, actually. And so we are supporting the bill that deals with that issue. Any questions? Anybody want to make a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Moved to approve by Commissioner Klug, seconded by Commissioner Kelly. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carried.
Resolution 5.6, or number 5.6 is Resolution 2023-051, ratify approval of change order number 7 with J.E. Dunn Construction Company, previously approved by Resolution 2020-118 in the amount of $10,394 for floor-mounted bunk beds in the Sarpy County Correctional Center. Ryan Marr, Corrections Director.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This resolution is needed to ratify my signature on owner change order number 7 in the amount of $10,394. You may recall from a recent tour in that admissions area, there's 8 cells down there, and 4 of the cells we're removing the benches and putting metal bunks in there for very temporary, short-term holding inmates, maybe on a special watch or a medical watch for a short period of time. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Ryan?
Motion to approve?
Moved to approve by Commissioner Klug. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Kelly. Any discussion? Please vote.
Thank you.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carries.
Item number 5.7 is Resolution 2023-044, Federal Signal Safety and Security Systems quote for outdoor sirens and components for the Emergency Management Department in the amount of $782,521.23. Jesse Arrett, Emergency Management Director.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I have a short presentation to give you an idea of the current status of the system and where we're proposing spending nearly $1 million on upgrades. I just don't know where it is. Here it goes. Okay, please stop me at any time. I'm happy to answer any questions. So of course, the purpose of the system is to warn those outdoors to seek shelter indoors, and then to seek information from either like the NOAA weather radio or from local media on what's going on and what's wrong. There's currently 70 sirens in the system. Most of them are owned by the cities and the SIDs. We actually only own one. And then there's 2 that are privately owned by Warner Enterprises and by the Cloisters. We own the communication system that activates the sirens, and we activate them through the Emergency Communications Center anytime there's like a tornado warning or another hazard where we'd want the public to seek shelter. Here is just a system map showing all the locations of the sirens and the coverage area. Currently, there's 3 projects underway for 3 additional sirens that'll likely be completed within the next 6 months. Turtle Creek, which is OPPD, of course, and then 2 SIDs. Some of the issues and limitations of the system is there are vulnerabilities to hacking. There's been instances where similar systems across the U.S. have been hacked. The most famous of those was in Dallas back in 2017. They activated the siren system there. I think it was 11 p.m. at night, and they ran for an entire hour before they could shut them down. So it was not a good thing. So there's the vulnerability. There's the issue that, or the limitation that there's really no way to monitor the status of the sirens right now other than when we do the monthly test. When we do the monthly test, we actually need somebody out there to physically look at the siren and listen to make sure that it's actually working. There's no other way to know whether or not it's working. Several of the sirens are obsolete. They're incredibly old, back from the civil defense days. They're no longer manufactured, so they don't manufacture parts any longer. So if they are in need of repair, there's typically delays on getting remanufactured parts for them, which then we have coverage gaps. So, and Murphy's Law, that usually happens right in the middle of severe weather season. So, and then all sirens, we activate all sirens. It's a limitation of the technology right now. We have to activate the entire system anytime there's a threat, even if it's just clipping a small part of the county. And the issue with that is when you continue to warn people over and over again, it has a desensitizing effect, and we obviously don't want that to happen. So if we're able to localize the warning or the activation to the area that is under threat, that's obviously a good thing. So there was a case last year where the storms had completely gone through the county, and they crossed the river, and they issued a tornado warning across the river, and just the back part of that polygon for the activation clipped like the Gifford Farm area. And so all sirens were activated, even though we had already seen the worst of the storms go through. So the proposed improvements include installing a new control system with a backup system. The system we have now really isn't a control system, it's just an activation system. It sends a signal out to turn on, it sends a signal out to turn off, that's it. This one would have two-way communication, so the sirens would actually be able to communicate back to the system and notify us if there's an issue, such as a power loss or a motor goes bad or something like that, so we know almost instantaneously when any of the sirens have an issue. So we've got the new control systems going in, and then we need to upgrade the existing sirens to be compatible with that system. And part of that, the 7 sirens that are earmarked to be replaced are not able to be upgraded to be compatible with the system, so they would no longer function with the new system when the new system's installed. And then last thing, roughly 20 to 30 sirens don't have any backup power, so if we've had instances in the past where a contractor's been working in the area and the power's been cut to that siren, and so of course it didn't work. And then obviously anytime we have severe weather, power outages are possible. So making sure that all the sirens have backup power is paramount. And I kind of touched on a little of this already, but the benefits of the improvements are the secure communication paths, so that back and forth communication between the new control system and the sirens is secure, it's encrypted, so obviously the vulnerabilities are much less for any tampering. I talked about the status reporting already. and the backup power. And then I touched on the geofenced activation a little bit. So in that image right there, that polygon, really there's only probably 3 or 4 sirens down in that area that would be impacted by that polygon. If with the new technology, if something similar to happen, we could elect to just activate the sirens within that area instead of across the entire county. Funding and timeline, so the total estimated cost is $917,000 for the upgrades. Today's proposal is for $782,000. It is all ARPA funds that we're using, and those ARPA funds were approved by this board this past summer. The project completion date is somewhere, we're hoping in Q3, but there are some supply chain issues with some of the equipment, so it's gonna depend heavily on when we can get stuff shipped. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Jesse?
No questions, but a comment. Jesse, this is a good project, and it's been needed in the county for a long time. I remember when the one was set off in Bellevue, it was sunny on the west end.
Yeah.
Also go back in memory, back into the early 70s, when part of my responsibility in the fire department was to respond to the station and manually blow the siren. Since I was the only single guy, they thought I was the most likely to be dispensable. So it's nice to be able to do it, and it's going to be a good upgrade to the system. Thank you.
So too.
I also think sometimes we forget how important it is. It wasn't that long ago that we had the storm at the scout camp. My oldest son was supposed to be there, had friends there who were hurt badly. We lost some kids at that scout camp, so it's an important project. It's a good collaboration to provide it across the entire county, even though the cities own several of these, most of these you said.
Yep.
So I think it was a good collaborative use of our ARPA funds. Appreciate your heading up the project,
Thank you.
Jesse.
I just have one comment back to where all the sirens were located.
Yeah.
And it looks like obviously along the Platte River on the south end, we have a lot of campsites and stuff, and this has come up in the past, and they really don't have storm shelters, and they really don't have
Correct.
a safe place to go, and it just looks like we're void of sirens in those areas. Is that correct, or am I?
Yeah, the only thing down along the river is the Cloisters property there in the southwest part of the county, over by Schramm Park. And then anywhere there's an SID, such as Hawaiian Village and Hanson's Lakes. The Hawaiian Village siren is one of those 7 that are going to be replaced, and it is a larger siren that has a larger coverage area, so it'll give a little bit more coverage down there, but there'll still be a lot of empty space.
Because I think that's where most everything is at, is more toward the middle and toward the east. So those sirens probably then can cover. Okay.
Yeah. And I know there's been discussion for many years about storm shelters and sirens down there in those campground areas, and I think the challenge is the cost involved. So it's one of those things. But I can certainly look into that and see, what grant money is out there potentially that we could utilize to help pay for some of those upgrades.
I think it would be a good idea. I mean, if they don't have much shelter, the more warning, obviously, the better.
And I seem to remember some of the planning documents that I've seen for some of the newer areas that are being proposed. The planning folks are kind of pushing back on. Like if a restroom's going in, making sure that it is storm shelter approved as far as, the concrete thickness and all that stuff, so it can serve as a storm shelter, but that doesn't help the existing campgrounds currently.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Warren, seconded by Commissioner Mixon. Any further questions or
Yeah, I
comments?
have a couple questions. On the ownership of the sirens, you said that there was 2 private owners. I mean, how does that happen? How do you get a private siren?
You
Because
can,
Commissioner Clude wants one in his backyard.
that
No,
is
I mean-
possible. Yeah.
I mean, how did that happen?
It's before my time, but Warner
So will
has
this
one.
project replace those or eliminate them? Or
No, it doesn't. It won't replace them or eliminate them. They will be upgraded with the other sirens. To work with the
at
new
taxpayer
controls.
cost for a private siren?
I believe so. Yep.
Well, that doesn't seem right to me, but might need to pull the thread on that with the attorney's office. The other question I have is on the map that Commissioner Mixon referred to. Are those the actual coverage areas that you're showing in circles there?
Yes, yep, that's the conservative coverage area, which the newer sirens are about a mile, the radius is about a mile from the siren, is
Okay.
the effective range.
So maybe this is a better question for the attorneys. And when a SID is formed and there's a the agreement that what do you call it, a subdivision agreement, or
Yes, subdivision agreement.
does it require that a siren be erected?
We usually require that they show coverage, and if they don't have any coverage, then we will tell them that they have to participate when one goes up. It just depends on how the coverage map shows.
Okay, because I mean, I see a couple SIDs that are, I don't see a siren by them, and that's why I was asking that question. Like Villa Springs down there by the river, there's no siren, and there's probably 300 people living down there and
Sure.
along the river.
And we only started requiring, looking at the siren language maybe within the last
Okay.
8 years or so. So
Now-
Villa Springs, I think, has been there a while.
Okay, that's good to know. Because we're putting a lot of sewer pipe in the ground. There's probably going to be a lot of SID formulation in the coming decade. So as the SIDs are formed, then the sirens will come to support them, right? This is
Yeah, they're in
plan?
the subdivision agreements, and typically the engineering firms that are in charge of the subdivision contact my office, and then we help with finding a good location for them and making sure that they're not duplicating coverage of an existing siren, just to
Okay.
optimize coverage as much as possible.
So, and one last question. So we have SID ownership, which makes sense. We have two that are privately owned, which we need to make sure we can upgrade. If we upgrade them, it seems to me they should become county-owned, but I don't know what the legal interpretation of that is. And then the rest are owned by the county, right? You said how many are owned by the
No,
county?
we only own one,
Which one do we own?
the La Platte siren.
Which one?
La Platte, down along Highway 75, in the
Okay.
southeast part of the county.
So
And the
how
only
did
reason
it come that we only own one siren?
That one was abandoned. We don't know. We don't know when it was installed or by who.
So we just took ownership of it?
Yes.
Okay.
Because there was nobody else to do so, and there is a small community down there, and they
So,
were concerned.
yeah, and back to Commissioner Mixon, concern about all the campgrounds. Out west, Vincel's Island is another hub of activity in the summer, and it doesn't look like there's any coverage out there whatsoever.
not.
So I think we might want to just take a look at that, because there's a lot of Sarpy County residents that are out there camping every summer. And best I can tell by looking at the map, there's no early warning for severe weather. And that, I think that applies down there by the confluence of the Missouri River and the Platte River as well. There's been an organization that's come in here, and it grows every year. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a campground, it's a concert venue.
Falconwood or something.
And so, I mean, those people need early warning, because as Commissioner Mixon pointed out.
Commissioner, I can comment on that. As part of the special use permit process, we do require the applicant to include a notification plan for severe weather, and they are required to have that as part of the special use permit.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
that would
I mean,
include the campgrounds and that Falconwood.
if we're going to invest $1 million, we should invest a little bit more and make sure we cover all the areas that are underserved where our citizens are going to be. So I think we should at least look at it and see if it's financially feasible. But certainly Village Springs, the area down there by the confluence of the rivers, and out by Vincel's Island are three areas that I know have a lot of people, a lot of summer population that are underserved right now. So hopefully we can look at that, Jesse, and see if that's feasible.
Absolutely.
to make that happen.
Now's the time.
Jesse, I don't know if you'd have it, but and I know it'll vary because of electricity, but what's the cost of one siren location?
There's a lot of factors, but generally 25 to 35,000 per siren.
Thank you.
That's pretty cheap if it saves a life,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep.
So let's not be penny wise and pound foolish. That's my only advice.
Okay. And going back to the two private sirens, I think the argument was because the coverage area expands well beyond what, the private service area there, that it was justifiable to upgrade those on using ARPA funds, but I will go back and double check that to make sure.
So just one last question, and this is, you may not have the answer for, but as I'm looking at, Sarpy County, smallest county, we got a lot of sirens for sure. But do we do an analysis on, where sirens are structured in Cass and Douglas and Saunders, is it? Maybe it's Lancaster. Do we see if there's some overlapping coverage there so that we don't over siren, I guess?
There is some overlapping coverage. The challenge is they're different systems, so there's no way to activate their system and us activate ours. Or
Gotcha.
Between
All right,
the two.
thank you.
Yep.
Any further questions? There's a motion and a second to approve.
It was moved by Warren, seconded by Mixon.
Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 6.1, Community Corrections. Report Jake Burst, Community Corrections Director.
Good afternoon. So here is January's data, start of a new year here. A pretty busy month. We had 10 new placements on our house arrest program, 44 new placements on our pretrial release program, which that is the highest that we've had since before the pandemic. So been pretty busy to start off 2023. Here are just the year-to-date totals thus far, 53 placements, 290 total program participants with over 7,000 jail beds saved. Here are the screenings and the placements. This should actually say 43. We had one placement out of Cass County that I accidentally lumped into Sarpy. So 42 screenings, 43 placements. Usually those numbers are switched. January was a little different. Our electronic monitoring numbers were pretty high for January. We had 111 individuals on alcohol monitoring, 85 individuals on GPS monitoring. And then I wanted to start kind of providing this graphic, sharing some of the numbers on our mental health case management program. So for the month of January, we had 37 total participants, which is a lot. And there were 6 new placements for the month. So we've talked a little bit about this in other committees, and then just internally in our office on kind of how we've had to get creative to meet the needs of that program. But so I'm kind of excited to share that data with you as the year progresses. So do you have any questions?
Any questions for Jake?
Okay.
Thanks so much. Item 6.2, Juvenile Corrections Report, Michelle Siders, Deputy Director.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sorry, it's been about 10 years since I've touched this. Ooh, did it. Thank you. Okay, well, I'm going to run down January at the JJC, and we've had 30 bookings so far for the year, well, for January. Average daily population is 16. Our admissions was 29. And for our average length of stay, we had about 17 days was the average length of stay. Care Truancy Tracker, that is our community programs. We had 73 youth for those. The alternative school, SCEP school, was 19 youth. And then the reporting center had 86 youth for the month of January. Out of those 86 youth, about 25 to 30 of them were daily, Monday through Friday. So it wasn't like it was a one-time coming to the center. It was for the month for education. So that. Then we have our medical data for the JJC. We had 142 assessments in January. Clients on medication were 31. Our psychiatrist had 10 visits, 6 in person, 4 telehealth. The psych meds was 16, a total of individually 50 meds for 16 youth. I apologize, sorry about that. Mental health watches 31. And then that wraps that information up together there. And then this is the map that we always use to show all the counties that we serve, and those that are in dark blue were for the month of January. Any questions?
Questions for Michelle?
The numbers look high to me for January. Is that a good assessment?
I believe so.
So how's it trending in February? Do you have any idea how it's
I don't
gone?
think it's slowed down at
A little
all.
bit?
No.
Not at all?
Not at all. I don't see it slowing down, but that's
Okay.
my opinion. Are you talking for detention or for the reporting center or SCEP school?
I was
or-
just like, just in general, admissions and bookings.
I haven't seen a slowdown. I see them kind of staying longer.
So the average daily population's holding around 16 or more?
It says 16, 17 when you put everyone together. I feel like through the time that I've been there, it seems like they're there longer. I've been at the Justice Center for 23 years now. This is probably where I'm seeing you stay longer, or from the days back when youth were there for a very long time waiting for evals. I mean, that was the crisis years ago, is they were there for too long waiting for evals. Now I feel like they're there back kind of for the same thing. It's finding those placements, finding where they're going to go next, what services are going to be in place. So I see them staying longer. Plus, I see adult charges. Those youth are not going anywhere anytime soon. So we've seen more youth with adult charges than I have throughout my entire career at the Justice Center.
So on the slide last slide you showed that shows all the different counties folks are coming from, so we actually had two juveniles from Scotts Bluff.
Oh yeah, this month, Scotts Bluffs is very normal. We often hold for Scotts Bluffs. They will drive 8 hours to the Justice Center. It's not uncommon whatsoever. We probably have youth there.
So I guess the question I'd ask is why would they come? Because there's a
Madison.
facility in Lincoln, there's a facility in Madison, and is Omaha. Is there another one I'm missing?
No, sir.
So would it be because Lancaster and closer counties are?
We're a staff secure facility. And so if a youth qualifies for a staff secure bed, then the only other staff secure detention facility in the state of Nebraska is Madison County.
Okay.
And so it's us in Madison. So that's the choices that you have for the state of Nebraska as far as a staff secure bed. And then, of course, your secure Madison also holds secure, DCYC secure, Lancaster secure only.
And so the two Scotts Bluff cases were in our facility for a total of 40, so basically 20 days each, 41 days it says. So that's a long time to be 500 miles from home, basically.
Yeah,
Seems
but
like.
it's not,
Yeah.
hasn't been uncommon as of the last, I don't feel like it has been uncommon for Scotts
Okay.
Bluff, Hall County. We do a lot of special visits with families because that's a long distance. So
Yeah.
families can go into the probation office and they do the online visits and phone calls home.
Oh, yeah,
And try
yeah.
to do that because that's hard for a youth to be, that's far for a family, or a longer visit if they do travel here. But the county will come and pick them up and take them to court when it's a hearing that they're probably not going to return. Otherwise, they just stay at the facility. Most of the faraway counties will stay at the facility and do it via computer.
So I should probably know this, but just out of curiosity, how often are visits allowed for people that are in detention?
We have visits scheduled daily.
Daily?
Yeah, we have every night, and then on the weekends. So daily. Good behavior allows for an extra visit. So of course, you always have your visits. You have to have your visits, but we also allow for an extra visit if you're on like the highest level in the center honors, and it's a good incentive to do well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Michelle? Good to see you. We're going to recess out of the Board of Commissioners and enter the Board of Corrections.
For the protection of the public interest, I move that we go.
No, we're not going to do that.
Oh, you're going to step, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I thought you said you were going to.
All right, so you're going to
Step
go into
out.
corrections, correct?
Correct.
Give me 1 minute to get it.
Misunderstood.
Okay, it's 3:46 and you're in corrections.
Okay, calling to order the Board of Corrections. We have present Commissioner Mixon, Warren, Kelly, Klug, and Burmeister, along with Dan Hoynes, the County Administrator, and Deb Hotelling, the County Clerk. Item 3.1 is the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Klug to approve. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carried.
Item 4.1, Adult Corrections Report, Ryan Marr, Corrections Director.
Good afternoon again, Commissioners, and appreciate you moving me ahead of the executive session. So we pull up our report here. There we go. So our report for January 2023, you can see as we compare that to admissions and releases over a 5-year period of time that we're pretty much right there in our average. When you look at our average daily population for each month and you compare that again to the 5-year average, we're pretty close in there. So over the past 5 years, an ADP of 166 inmates. We're a little bit higher than that right now. I expect in February of '23 that number will come down a little bit, but nothing alarming. Going into our new facility, having this size population is a huge benefit to us. And then the only thing that's significant to change is our average length of stay. You can see that over the past several years, we're kind of up about a day and a half. We'd like to go the other direction with that length of stay, but a lot of that is related to who's coming to jail. So you see the admissions there, 86% of those are for felony admissions. They take a little bit longer to adjudicate. So that's some of the reason why that ADP is increased. And then you see there about 33%, about a full third of our population are in our facility for violent offenses and charges. And I'd be happy to answer any questions on any of the corrections reports before I give you an update on the new facility.
Questions for Ryan?
Okay. And then just for the Sarpy County Correctional Center, for your awareness, we're still doing some testing, engaged in that. We'll hopefully have a little clarification by the end of the week on the fire safety, radio communications. Staffing wise, we have 3 more vacancies to fill before we get in there to meet our minimal staffing requirements. And then as far as construction goes, really we're just working on the punch list, completing paint touch-ups, small minor repairs, some adjustments we've started with our key control, and working with the key control vendor to make any changes that we found there. And then our IT is making their connections, and that's a big part of the process too. So hopefully, like I said, by the end of this week, get a little more clarity about when we're going to get in there. And I'd be happy to answer your questions about our new facility.
When if everything stays on track, Ryan, when are the tours that you're planning?
So we're looking probably later this month, towards the end of the month.
March.
Into April for doing some tours. We are planning an evening, at least one midweek evening, to do tours for the general public. We'll work with Katie and kind of broadcast that out. It won't be the type of tour that we that we give the commissioners or our law enforcement agencies and people that are working in the facility, but they'll be able to see some parts, the admissions, food service, courtroom, maybe one housing unit area.
Great, thank you.
Okay,
Any other questions? Thanks, Ryan.
thanks again.
All agenda items having been addressed as published, the Board of Corrections is adjourned.
Okay, give me 1 minute here. Okay, we're ready for executive.
Now, for the protection of the public interest, I move we go into executive session to discuss real estate and litigation.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner
Oh, wait,
Warren,
We gotta send for votes, I'm sorry. Okay, Jim, it's up.
second by Commissioner Klug to go into executive session. Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none. Okay.
It is now 4:34 PM. At 3:51, we went into executive session where our discussion was restricted to real estate and litigation. I need a motion that we return to regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Mixon, seconded by Commissioner Klug to return to executive session.
Need my buttons.
Oh, wait a
There we
minute.
go. All right.
You got him?
I got them. Yep.
Please
Good
vote.
boy. Ayes 5, nays none.
All agenda items having been addressed as published, the Board of Commissioners is adjourned.